Yeah, she's...
We'll give you the, like the movies, we'll go. Or how did, here comes Johnny, right?
3, 2.
Yeah, let me see if
It says we're live, but I don't see a picture.
Oh, crying out loud.
It's not going yet.
All right.
Oh, I didn't have that.
I'm good. Well, there's nothing here either.
I got John, thank you. That's what she said. There's no picture.
Oh, there's connections. Yeah.
Who touched the cord?
Nothing?
Nothing.
Well, I'll be fine. I'll be fine here.
No, it has nothing to do with you, Dave.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
You're gonna be a
If
few
not,
minutes, so have a
he's gonna
seat.
tape it.
It's gonna be a little bit.
You already started it? Okay, I'm gonna stop, the stream. Well.
I like the way it didn't come out the way it started to come out.
Yeah, that's gotta be, showing before you start.
Internet connection, Brian?
Huh?
Do we have an internet connection?
It says it's live.
Yeah,
It just
it's,
doesn't have the camera.
it doesn't have the
Everything on these
excellent connection. Yeah, it's with that.
Staying cool, everybody?
Did it again, but the stream was restarted, so that's why I don't. Let me stop the stream. I'm going to stop the stream for anybody who is watching, and I'm going to restart it. You may have to refresh your, whether you're watching on a computer or your television on your Roku box.
And we can tell them again, I'll tell them again when we start.
So I'm going to stop this to see if I can get the camera going. Let me see something. Okay.
Let me go look to see if it's going, right?
You have to refresh your computer.
Why is the Jeopardy theme running through my head?
It's going, Brian, I didn't even have to refresh.
All right, cool.
Even better.
I'm gonna start charging, just so everybody knows.
I hope it ain't the airline pilot fee. We won't be able to afford that one, Brian. Right? Mr. Montello? Okay, we're ready to start the meeting here.
Yep,
Everybody good?
yep,
Fred, Jennifer,
yep.
Nikki, John, Ray, Brian, ready?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Committee of the Whole meeting of the Village of Walton Hills of Tuesday, June 4th, 2024 at 7:05 p.m. Second order of business is Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We did have to restart the streaming. Any residents, I'd like to welcome any residents, not only the residents that are here or non-residents, but any residents watching the live stream. We did have to restart the live stream, so you might have to refresh your computer. I know the computer in my office did come right back. It just came right back. But if you're having difficulties, our IT person, Brian Spitznagel, said it might be best to refresh your computer. Nikki, roll call.
Councilman Nielsen?
Here.
Councilwoman Allen?
Here.
Councilman Spitznagel?
Here.
Councilman Whedon?
Here.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilwoman Diane Canzoni from tonight's meeting.
Second.
Second by Jennifer Allen. Vote on the motion.
Councilman Nielsen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel?
Yes.
Councilman Whedon?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Also present is our fiscal officer, Nicole Sell, and our law solicitor, John Montello. Okay. Any comments related to the agenda items first? From any residents, non-residents, anybody watching this live stream? Any comments from the audience for anything else? Would you like to? Yeah, if you come up to the mic, Dave.
No,
No,
you
you
got.
have
No, we do it because of the stream. Yeah, no one's exempt, believe me. You could ask the people who are here.
So everybody has a copy of what I,
Give your name, what we do, we have everybody give their name and their address.
yeah, Dave Hedges, 17305 Egbert Road, Walton Hills.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so as I was saying, I owner of Empire Tree Service, have been for over 40 years. And I'm taking some issues with this tree ordinance, and, yeah. Okay. Let's look at item A. It says the zoning administrator or arborist hired by the selected by the village. Oh, by the way, let me back up. Who is the administrator?
Zoning administrator would be Rob Kelman. He's our,
So he's designated as a...
him and also,
administrator.
yes.
Okay. Okay, this number A, it has almost nothing to do with my industry. We're a tree service contractor, commercial. This applies more to a logging industry, okay? Same thing with B. Trees that are branded, marked shall be cut, unmarked shall constitute separate. It just doesn't even apply to us. And C certainly doesn't. Meadow maintenance. Does anybody know what meadow maintenance is? Does it apply to tree service contractors in any way? Did you see? Anybody?
Well, this, I don't, I know you just have selective cutting. I don't know
Yeah,
what this, if this pertains just, I'd have to look on the computer, Dave, but not right now. I don't know if that pertains, meadow cutting would be, you know,
Grassland,
yeah.
flower, rich meadows are landscapes that require regular care and maintenance throughout the seasons. Hay cutting, it has nothing to do with my business. And then we come time to...
But, you know, without looking at this, Dave, I think this pertains to a resident with selective cutting, isn't it? That they just can't go in and,
Mr. Mayor?
yeah, go ahead, Brian.
We did that with a resident a few years. He is passed away, but I remember doing it with a resident who was cutting several trees on his property. This would be on Egbert Road, thank you.
So this
on
pertains
Egbert
to the
Road.
homeowner.
And I do remember them marking the trees.
So this pertains to the homeowner? This-
Yes, you have to. yeah, you
Not
have to-
a tree service.
Right, they
Right.
have to mark which trees.
Because
They're
there's
going
a,
Would be
there's a
for timber
limit.
harvesting, is it what you're saying?
No, he was doing it he wasn't doing it for timber harvesting, he was doing it to clear cut some of his property, right?
Right, and there's
I
a-
don't want to mention his name.
There's a maximum number of trees, I think it's 3 that can
Yeah.
be taken down
Yeah.
without any authorization.
I have the entire section there, and there's nothing in there as far as number of trees, but let's let Mr.
Sure.
Yeah, and then
Hedges
finally,
continue to
it's
see.
D, in my travels, I certainly don't go out of my way to look at, to turn people in. But if I see a tree contractor in the village, and he's not on the list that I have here, I call on him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not about competition. It's about a level playing field.
Mhm.
If I need to go through all that, then
Sure.
certainly an outsider does.
Sure.
Okay. So I reported this guy 3 weeks ago, went down to the building department with Lisa, Canzoni is her last name?
Yes.
Is he a relation to Diane?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Distant, but
Yeah, distant relative,
and,
by marriage.
And Jeff was there, I think, Jeff?
Jeff Burgess, yeah.
Yeah.
He helps out with our zoning enforcement.
And just to be clear, I'm not trying to throw these people underneath the bus. I think they're both very nice people, okay? I've worked with Jeff before. But when I turned this guy in that was working up on Jefferson, they said, oh, we already know about it. He's good. I said, what do you mean he's good? He doesn't need a permit. He's cutting down dead trees. So it says, however, a tree cutting contractor for such work shall be licensed by the village.
Mhm.
If you're cutting down dead trees or live trees.
Right.
Is that correct, my understanding?
My interpretation.
I was told by both of them, he does not need a permit to cut down dead trees. It didn't make any sense to me. So, I
He-
mean, you know.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Brian.
he doesn't need a permit to cut down dead trees per our ordinance, but if you, let me back up. A resident does not need a permit to cut down dead trees on their property, as our ordinance is right now. But if you hire a contractor to cut down that dead tree, that contractor must be registered with the
Correct,
village.
correct. That's what I just said.
Yeah.
So I was given wrong information. You know, it just burns me up that the village is losing revenue left and right. They have all these tree contractors coming in after hours, and when they're here, there's nobody to enforce it. I mean,
Right.
you know, either somebody's too busy, or we don't have enough help, and they're allowed to work in the village without a license. That's just, it frustrates me, you know? So if they come in and cut down trees after hours and the building department is not here, who enforces that? Can a policeman?
I'd have to look. I don't think they can, I don't think it falls under their, Yeah, I'd have to get that
We got
answer for you.
stopped in Moreland Hills by the police. They shut our job totally down. They double fined us to the tune of $600, okay? So they certainly use that policy.
yeah.
I mean, we're only 5 square miles. I mean, in their travels, if they see somebody that's not on the list, certainly they could, you know, get their name and addresses and fine them.
Dave, was this after hours?
No, no,
Okay, so it was during the day.
no, but it's just not being enforced. And once again, it's frustrating for me as a qualified licensed tree contractor to see all these people flooding in here and doing this work without no license.
And Mr. Mayor, Mr. Hedges, there is, if you do work in the village without being licensed, there's a fine for that also in our ordinances. So if they catch somebody, they can fine them for it.
Yeah, I don't think that's been done. I would be hard pressed to believe that that's been done. I'd like to know when it has been done, you know?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I can tell you, Mr. Hedges, I know a few months ago, there was a resident on McClellan that saw a contractor cutting down trees. And some of them were hers, so she was quite concerned. They were doing it for the power lines or the cable lines or what, I don't know what. But she called the building department. The building department immediately went down there. They said, today, you have to get a permit filed, you know, or you're shut down completely. And we ended up getting like $10,000 to $15,000 for permits and stuff for them to do work throughout the village. And they made them go back to Michigan that day, you know, to make sure that all the paperwork was filled out. So I know there are times when they do, you know, it has been
Yeah.
enforced.
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, I'd like you to look into that, the police enforcing this, when the building department is not around, that's all. And, basically, that's it. So, now it stands that, I don't care if you're cutting down dead trees, not the residents, or live trees, you must have a permit, correct?
No, a dead
Must have
tree,
License.
License. Let's
you
say
must you must be registered with the village. Any
Yeah.
registered or licensed contractor must be registered with the village. And that goes not only for tree cutting, everything else too.
Sure.
Concrete work, if you're putting in a
Sure.
fence, all that stuff. And really, I don't even know if, you know, it kind of rests also with the resident that's getting the work done to ensure that their contractor is registered with the village and anything they're doing is properly permitted. And I know people in the village, they do things without permits, and then after the fact, they, you know, other scenarios have come back to us, they wanted us to help them with a faulty job, and we can't, they never got a permit to begin with. So
Well-
that permit helps to protect that resident, you know, from shoddy service. As a matter of fact, years ago, I had my basement waterproof, re-waterproofed. And of course, I had the permit and everything, and they were getting ready to fill everything in. And the building inspector came out, this was 2 or 3 building inspectors ago. He says, no, you have to put visqueen over on the top. He says, I never do that. He says, well, you do it in Walton Hills. And so he was mad, he huffed and puffed away, but he went and he got the visqueen and put it on.
But, you
So-
know, yeah, you know, I get that, but tree work, so if a fly-by-night comes in the village, he destroys a customer's house, and he doesn't have no insurance, he possibly hurts the resident, or maybe one of his guys get killed in the process, who's holding the bag?
The,
The
to
homeowner.
me, the resident should, if I hire somebody that's a faulty contractor for anything and they damage my property, that's on me. I mean, I can't
Correct.
hold the village responsible.
Yeah,
That should be on me.
That's correct.
Right?
So they
as a
come after,
homeowner.
yeah. Yeah, if one of the workers get hurt, they could come after the homeowner, whoever he's doing the work for, and try to take their house,
Well, you can, yeah, exactly.
you know? So that's all that more reason to make sure these people have licenses, you know? It seems like now they're coming and going as they please with nothing, so if we could tighten it up, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank
we
you.
will, Dave,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Can I see that one more
Yeah.
thing, Mayor?
Yeah.
Take care, Dave.
Oh, he's
Well-
leaving.
You can stay, Dave, you don't have to leave.
Well, it's a good recommendation that farming contracts have to be permitted, I mean. you know, we
Well,
should
that's
get
in
the
our
message out to
ordinances that they
residents,
do.
you know, so
Contractors must be permitted, or must be registered with the village.
You don't want to use the word on people, they try to save money, you know.
I'll talk to Jeff
Sure, oh,
about,
Sure, I know a buddy of mine will come over and do it.
so he understands the, and I'm sure he understands it well, okay. All right. Any other questions related to that or anything? Okay. All right. Move on to the legislation. We have item A, ordinance 2024-5, property assessments. I'll let you talk about that, Nikki.
This is the yearly assessment that we send to the county for the property assessments for trash, lawn, any kind of assessment that the village does put on the tax bill, and it's done every year.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Jennifer.
Nikki, when does this have to be done by?
It's usually done, it has to be into the auditor by September 7th, so we
Okay.
thought we'd get it on before the summer recess.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Brian.
at some point, can council have a list of the delinquent properties?
I do.
Thank you.
But just the delinquent ones, we don't need all the houses
No,
for
the
the
delinquent
trash.
ones. Yeah,
The delinquent ones, I don't have that. That would be from the county auditor. We'd probably have to get that information.
Oh, the
I-
ones that I'm talking about the ones that we like did
Oh, for the
lawn
lawn,
service
yeah.
for and
Mhm.
things
Yeah, I
like
can
that.
Trash all away.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're preparing it as for the next, you know, we're gonna have it by the next council.
Yeah, I have those, so we're good. And I can forward them on.
Okay.
We'll have that on the agenda for next week too, and then Nikki can get those listings for everybody.
Thank you.
Any other questions related to item A? Okay, we'll move on to item B, ordinance 2024-6, additional appropriation in advance to capital.
So basically, that is some additional appropriations we'll be needing for the listed items. For the sewer projects, we'll be advancing money to the capital account. That is fully paid for by, reimbursed by Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. So it's basically like a loan that we're loaning for the payment, and then it gets paid back.
That's for the cameras.
The other is the dispatch. We've got some health insurance that we've recently added on in dispatch and recreation. Mayor's Court supplies, there was a large purchase of folders that was not accounted for in the budget. And Garfield Heights, court filing fees, they have increased their ticket costs from $15 to $20. And they also had a meeting regarding last year's billings, and they ended up with a bit of a deficit, so they spread it out among all the communities that use Garfield, and we had to pay an additional $35,000 payment to cover those costs. And each community was assessed based on how many citations, et cetera, that they had. So
That's
that-
based on the camera tickets, correct, John?
I'm wondering if it was other cases as well, but.
If you could
It did
talk into the mic,
include
please.
camera tickets, small claims, civil,
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
and
other
criminal.
types of cases
Yeah,
as
just
well.
like cameras. The big chunk for us is cameras.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
Nikki, why is it 85,000?
Because we have additional amounts due to the end of the year for the tickets. They increased it
they
from
wanted it in
15 to
advance?
20. No, but we'll need it for the end of the year, so instead of re-amending the budget again, we're
At
just,
the end? Okay.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
hoping this
Just-
should cover us for the year.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That will also be on next week's agenda. Anybody has any additional questions at that time or right now, if anybody would like any other questions on that? From the residents? Okay. We'll move on to item C, Resolution 2024-23, tax levies. I'll let you talk about that, Nikki.
That is also a yearly resolution that we do regarding authorizing the tax levies to the county. That's done every year.
Any questions on that? We haven't changed anything. Our
No.
millage is the same and everything, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's usually by July,
Mhm.
that needs to be put in.
Right.
Yeah, so far, all three, as we move on, would be asked for suspension, since we'd be going on recess. I'm sure we'll probably have some meetings probably in between special meetings, but, and it's also good, I mean, their housekeeping things gives Nikki time to get them in, so.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
the first one too, about the property assessments, if that's due by September 7th,
correct.
you know,
Yeah,
we
we're not
wouldn't
gonna,
have a council meeting.
no, we'd have to have a
before that.
special meeting,
Mhm.
correct. So we'll have these on the agenda next week, too. Any other questions on the tax levies? And we have item D, Resolution 2024-24 tax advance. I'll let Nikki and John talk about that.
So that's also a yearly item that tells the county that to advance the taxes to us. They do a tax advance in January, February, March, and then the final amounts in July and August, I believe.
Mayor,
Yes.
do you know about how much that advance would be?
I would not know until they give it to us.
Okay.
It's how much they collect in taxes each year. It's probably going to be similar year by year,
Okay.
unless we have some additional property taxes that we're collecting, which,
Mayor, it's something we do every year as well, all communities do, they, you know, to say, you can rely that people are gonna be paying their taxes, so we want the money a little sooner, knowing that they're not really taking much of a risk, so they're advancing the taxes, knowing that they're going to receive it, the money, so it's the way it's been forever, so we just sort of advance the monies.
Thanks.
Yes. We did it last year.
Right. Any questions on item D? Okay, that would also be on the meeting next week. Looking to hopefully answer any other questions so we can have those items for the council meeting for suspension. So if you have any questions, be sure to call Nikki. Or she'll be ready, also have anything. So far, we just need the listings, correct?
Yes.
For item A?
that was just for the lawn, or did you want everything?
Just, no, just the
Oddball
stuff that
things.
we did,
The
Okay.
extra.
yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
Okay,
that we actually did the service.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any questions related to item A, B, C, or D? Okay. Under other business, the Journal will be coming out. We're a few days behind. I think one of the things that you'll see in there is the building department news, and it talks about zoning code enforcement. It has also a plan. It makes a note, 17 notices of violation were sent out, resulting in cooperative conformance for 12 of the 17 violations. 8 contractors were stopped for working without a permit or not being registered. All conformed prior to proceeding with the work. Of course, then it's also said a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting was held on May 15th. So it has other things in there too. So I think it kind of came at a good time. We're probably going to put something similar like this, either on the new website or in the Journal. Just, and I understand Dave's frustration, and we can look to see what the other communities are doing as far as off hours. But I know Rob and Jeff, when they get a call or in their driving around the village and they see somebody, they certainly are aggressive enough to stop and address them. And we get calls, but off hours, that's always a problem, but I will tell you this, I myself have called on off hours, and the department has responded, whether it's Rob or one of the other members. Most of the time, it's Rob. So, but we can see, we'll kind of look into ordinance. This is 2009, so it's getting up there too. So maybe we'll have George look at that, see.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
A suggestion possibly in the next journal or the next one after that, put just a small blurb in there for residents if they are hiring contractors to ensure they are registered in the village, and that way they're ensured that, just what Mr. Hedges has said, that they're insured, they're bonded, and they have all the requisite insurance, just in case something does happen on their property. That protects that homeowner.
Well, you'll be happy, because in this article under Department News, it says, reminder, please plan ahead when scheduling your project to
This is
allow.
Karnak, remember Karnak?
Yeah. To allow for plan review and permit issuance, please make sure your contractor is registered and receives a permit for the work they are performing. A list of work that requires a permit can be found on the village website at www.waltonhillsohio.gov under documents and forms.
Excellent.
So, but
Thank
we
you.
can run it but it will be in this issue coming out. So they did 23 plan reviews, issued 4 commercial building permits, and 20 residential permits, including 1 pool, 5 driveway replacement repairs, 3 decks, 2 fences, 4 roofs, 1 air conditioner, 2 waterproofing, 1 window replacement, and 1 shed. Okay. Anybody else have anything for other business?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
It really doesn't pertain for council, but just as a public forum that we are here, there are so many great organizations in the village. And the 2 biggest ones, I would have to say, would be the Lake and the Owl. And both of those are completely run by volunteers. The village does have a small, considerably, not small to me personally, but in the overall budget, contract with the Lake, and they do purchase some pages in the Owl too. But otherwise, both of those organizations are completely done by volunteers, all of the work, and I know they're having a hard time getting volunteers. So if anybody could just give an hour, a half hour of their time, just to help these groups out, especially if you're a part of it or if you enjoy the Owl. I know there's routes that can be done. We deliver to every home in the village, and some routes can be done within 15 minutes or a half an hour. The Lake could always use help with cleanup, things like that. If you could spare an hour of your time on a Saturday or a Sunday to help them out. I know both of those organizations especially would appreciate it.
Thank you, Jennifer, on that. I would agree with you on that. Anybody else have anything under other business? Okay, any residents have anything under other business? Okay, there is a planning commission meeting this week, Thursday, 7 o'clock. Me and Jennifer talked a little while, for a few minutes before the meeting about having and I know she sent an email, I think, to us about having a safety and insurance committee meeting before the COW meeting next week. I know, Ray, you wouldn't be able to make it, but we'll probably have that if council, other, Fred and Brian, if you could be there. Some of the discussion, I think, is going to be about dispatch personnel.
Okay.
Might even go into executive session over it. We have a special council meeting. We're kind of leaning that way, just to give everybody a heads up.
We could always plan for the special council meeting, and if we don't have it,
Right. We don't have to go into
Yeah.
executive. We don't have to make a motion. But- All right, so, okay. In that case, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
Second?
Second by Mr. Councilman Nielsen. Vote on the motion.
Councilman Nielsen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 7:36. Thank you, everybody.
We still got plenty of time to enjoy the weather.
Actually, I forgot to say, well, are we still streaming?
I am ending now.
The lake does open this weekend. I forgot to
Oh.
put out